Do you like a good story? Do you remember those stories that someone read to you? Bedtime stories? Reading a good story is an art. Being able to capture someone, have them listen to that story and love it. Well, our next guest is a storyteller, and a very good one at that. My name is Vin Dacquino, and our next guest is Jimmy McGuire.
Hey,
Jimmy,
how you doing?
Let's talk writing. Jimmy, we have a past. There was a time when I was part of this storytelling group, and we met there.
Right, Vin. Yes.
And I had the wonderful opportunity of hearing you tell stories.
Where was that, Vin? Was that in the library or something?
Yeah, I believe it was in Brewster. At the Walter Brewster House.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I remember
there was
that.
a storytelling festival.
Right.
And we were on the docket together.
Yes.
And you told wonderful stories.
Oh, thank you, Vin. You did good, too, Vin.
Oh, thank you. So, tell me a little bit about Jimmy McGuire. Tell me about when storytelling began for you.
Okay, Vin. I was working on a master's degree in Hunter College in New York City, Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
And I started in 1987, and I decided to study, acting kind of formally to try to get a degree so I could maybe teach. So I did that, and I met a wonderful teacher there named Professor Pat Sternberg. She was a professor there. She used to live in Philadelphia, and she'd come in on Sunday nights and teach from Monday to Thursday. They had a residence house there for the teachers there. And she taught us all about how to relax ourselves on stage. Can I mention a few things,
Oh,
Vin?
please do.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was really into self-expression. One of them was like to learn poetry and to read it out loud.
Okay.
It was for your voice.
And even that is an art. I mean, you don't read poetry. You recite poetry.
Very good. That's good.
So tell me about that. Tell me, what are some of those hints and tips about things that she taught you?
Well, she said you should try to get that great book. It's 100 Famous Poems. 100 Famous Poems, and there's such beauty in those words. It's some of them about the Civil War. It's about like the 1900s in the United States. It's just wonderful times before TV was invented, where people really would write great words when it came to poems. And
remember, there was a time when we didn't have television? What? Yeah. I mean, there was a time when there was no television, and people sat around radios listening to these wonderful stories on radio. The Lone Ranger, and the Shadow Nose.
Yeah, and the Green Hornet, right?
Yeah, the Green Hornet. I kind of just missed. Television was just coming out, and I got to see television. I didn't listen to a lot of the stories then, but later on, I got some of these reprints of some of these stories. Yeah. They're fascinating.
Oh, they are.
And you could listen to them. Even today, there are stories on tape.
Sure.
I worked 43 miles from my job.
Oh.
So I had all this time. Sometimes it took me an hour and a half in rush hour to get to work. So I would listen to stories on tape. Yeah. And even today, they're very popular. And you could hear these stories. And I'm telling you, a good storyteller is worth his weight in gold.
Very true, man. Very true.
So tell me some more things that
some of the other things
teacher taught.
She wanted us to learn was like to try to sing out loud every day for 5 minutes. In other words, like let's get some tapes of Frank Sinatra or Tony Bennett or Nat King Cole. Write out the words to their songs, like.
And you sing to those?
And then sing.
Jimmy, you've never heard me sing. I'll get evicted from my neighborhood.
I heard you singing before. You were pretty good.
Then that should tell you.
Okay. But I love like Tony Bennett, like, I'd rather go from rags to riches.
Ooh, very
so all you got to do
good.
is sing this in your car, and
That's right.
your voice
Learn
gets
to
actually,
express.
it actually gets better.
Yeah.
So she told us things like that.
Good.
The other thing to do was movement to music. Movement to music was very important. Like, in other words, you get something like some beautiful music you like, and you would move around to the music. Yeah. It just opens up the skeletal and muscular system to be more creative as a person.
Wow.
That's what it did.
I was a drama advisor for 15 years at a middle school. We did all these plays. And one of the things that I taught the children is that your voice is not the only thing you're presenting to the audience.
Very good.
The rest of you is there too.
Sure.
So when you're on that stage, they're not only listening, they're watching. What are your hands doing?
That's
What
right.
are your feet doing? What's your face doing?
Exactly.
And one of my favorite exercises, and I try to help them understand that it's not only what you say, it's how you say it. And one of my favorite exercises is this one. I say, listen to this word. No. 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 Same word,
good,
but
very good.
every time you say it has a different meaning.
That's right, Vin, yeah.
So it's very important to know how to say things as well as what to say.
Sure. Then she had other exercises like take a sentence like, it's about time we sat down and had a cup of coffee. Well, you could say that 4 different ways. One would be very friendly. It's about time we sat down and had a cup of coffee. And then very angry. It's about time we sat down and had a cup of coffee. And then another could be like a very puzzled like, it's about time we should sit down and have a cup of coffee. What it tries to do, it tries to bring your personality like a rubber band to be more flexible in your voice and in your gestures. That's what she was doing.
And a very important thing is, it's not only your actions that matter, it's your reactions. It's what you say in response to other things. And as you say, it changes how you say it.
That's right.
So, good. I mean, good things.
Right.
More tips.
Okay. Like, for instance, like music is beautiful. Sometimes I put on something by George Gershwin, like some of those great tunes he made. Or I can't think of one right now, but he made some beautiful music. And then like Aaron Copland, he did Billy the Kid.
Yeah.
That beautiful type of music. And you just move around in your room, your living room to that music. And like I say, you loosen up the whole body.
Yeah, when I used to teach poetry, I was an English teacher for 35 years, or I taught English to middle school students. And I used to put on what I called mood setters. And I would play music, and they would have to sit and write poetry while listening to that music and let it set the tone and mood for them.
Yes.
And it taught them tone. It taught them how to get into the moment. And sometimes you have to change the moment. So do you find yourself sometimes when you're getting ready to tell a story that you have to sort of create a mindset for that story?
Not really. What happens is as you tell the story, you begin to feel things. See, that's what it is. See, I studied with a wonderful teacher named Ernie Martin. He was with, what was the great method the method teacher? Taught all those guys. Lee Strasberg. He was with Lee Strasberg for about 5 years, and his whole thing was sensory work, using the 5 senses: touch, taste, smell, sight, and sound. So whenever you do a monologue, let's say a monologue, you would use all the 5 senses as you did the monologue. Like, let's say you're in the water, and your ship sank, and you're in the water, like, trying to keep alive. Well, you use all 5 senses as you would say the monologue. The smell of the ocean, the taste of the seawater. So you say the words so that you could actually feel them and smell them and taste them. Right. You would color the words with the 5 senses. So the more of those exercises you would do, the better you get at it. Actually, Vinny, actually would get better.
Wow.
Then he would sit us like on a chair in front of an audience, and he'd want you to be like a big piece of ice melting in the sun. So the idea is sort of like sit there and just feel like you're melting. The sun is melting you, and it does something remarkable to the human body and mind. Wow, it's hard to explain.
What about when you're ready to present a story? Practice. Do you talk in front of a mirror? Do you just say it out loud in your bedroom?
I say it out loud. Yeah, I say it out loud. I repeat as many times as I can. I repeat the story.
And do you do it in different ways?
Yeah. Sometimes I do the story very fast. Sometimes I do it very slow. Sometimes I do it like instead of looking at the audience, I would look that way and try to use my head, the back of my head, to tell the story. I know that sounds, okay.
Do you feel yourself almost turning on when you're ready to present to an audience?
Yes.
It amazed me that not everybody feels that way, I'm a Leo. I need the spotlights. I need the audience.
Yeah.
I actually turn on when it's time to present.
Yeah.
My first speech was in 6th grade. I was 11 years old.
Wow.
Standing on a fire truck in the middle of the playground. Jimmy, I was sold, man. The first time I looked out there and said, all these people are listening to me. And I was like, I belong here. So,
Yeah.
And you do feel it. It's a wonderful feeling. And when you get that feeling, you give that feeling.
Sure.
And that's when the audience really is there. Right. More tips.
Okay, Vin. Another thing is to tell a joke.
Oh, good.
She said, don't get one line, is actually get a paragraph of a joke, an actual, like, beginning, middle, end, like a good, not too long, but like maybe a paragraph and a half, and actually tell the joke and practice it. And that's
there
really
is an art to being a good joke teller.
It is,
well, look at comedians. Look at how many times comedians have gotten up there and bombed.
Yeah.
You could bomb. I did. I did stand-up comedy for a while.
Oh, wow.
And oh my God, you could go up there and you could have that audience right in the palm of your hand. And you could give that same exact material the next night and bomb on your face.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
It happens.
Sure.
It happens. It's scary.
Interesting people to watch, people like Jay Leno, the way he tells a joke. You know, he uses that jaw of his, the way it sticks out, and he just uses that voice. He just throws it right out. It's really.
I could not imagine Jay Leno replacing Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson, to me, was the best.
Oh, he was really great.
He was the best. He could do. I mean, he had such a wonderful way of bombing. He could bomb and go, okay, and then you'd still laugh, and he'd save it anyway. There's certain ways of presentation that work, and there's ways that do not work.
Sure.
So, other things.
Another thing that he really pushed, she said, was, let's see now, it would be learning the short story. Oh. So instead of learning a big, long story, you would learn a story that's maybe 3 to 5 minutes long. And just practice that story over and over again. And then you would bring it into class, and you would tell the story.
When you say learning a short story, Jim, should you ever read your material to the audience, or is it always better to memorize it and deliver it from memory?
I think it's always better to memorize it. And there's a great storyteller. Her name was Ruth Sawyer.
Oh.
She wrote The Way of the Storyteller in 1936. She wrote this. It's the Bible for storytellers. If you ever want to pick up a fantastic book.
Okay, Ruth Sawyer.
Yes. The introduction is so beautiful about how important it is to be, not to read to children, but to tell the story to children, memorize it. Because they watch everything you do, you know. If you read it, it's like, but when you have to, like, really look at the kids and deal with them, they really get something from that. They go, you know, look at the way he's doing that, you know. So,
well, Jim, you know what I'm going to ask you, right?
Yes.
I want to hear you read a story, buddy.
You mean tell a story?
Would you do that?
Yeah, sure. Vincent.
Wonderful. Let's get that camera on, Jim. Jim?
So I look at that camera?
Make it happen. Look at that camera. And make it happen. Tell us a story. Mesmerize us.
Okay. Very good. This is a wonderful story I got, Vinny, when I was in the dentist's office about 10 years ago from Reader's Digest. It was called The Sailor and the Rose. It's really a beautiful story. It takes place during World War II, 1942. There's a young boy named Jimmy Valentine who comes from the Bronx, much like myself. And so he's 18 years old. The big war's going on in Europe and in the South Pacific, and he has to join up. All his friends join the Marine Corps. They join the Army, the Navy, and I got to join. He joins the Navy. So what he does is he's ready to go to it's a famous Navy training center in North Chicago. I forget the name of it now, but it was a famous place where they go for training. Right. So he's ready to go Friday. So this Wednesday he decides to go to the library to look up books about the Navy to see what kind of a ship he might go on. You know, maybe he'll go on a destroyer or maybe a cruiser or something like that. So he looks them up and he finds aircraft carrier. That looks good. There's a lot of people. I could maybe hide and blend in more on an aircraft carrier. There's about 3,000 people on an aircraft carrier, so that's what I think I'll do. So he's ready to leave the library, when he notices a book on a table, and it says The Long Goodbye. So he picks the book up, and he starts reading through the book, and it's all these sorrowful letters from guys from the Civil War and World War I about leaving home, saying goodbye, getting wounded, writing home from the hospital. And he's really affected by this. But at the same time, he sees 6 or 7 index cards written out in beautiful penmanship. And he says, wow, this is really beautiful that this person's explaining the stories here in the letters. Maybe I'll try to make this person like a pen pal in the service. Maybe this person could write to me. So he goes up to the librarian, he explains to the librarian what he wants to do. And the woman says, well, I'll tell you what, son, just give me your home address and I'll try to reach this person. I don't know if I can, but I'll see if they can maybe write to your parents, and maybe they'll send a letter on to, the Great Lakes Naval Station. That's where it is, in northern Illinois, northern Chicago. So what do you think of that? Oh, that'll be great. Thank you so much. So he goes back home and he has dinner with his mom and dad, his young sister and brother, and his cat Fluffy. And so what happens is he leaves Friday. He goes down to Grand Central Station to leave on the train, and he's really brokenhearted. First time ever away from home. It's really tough, especially to be going to war. Oh, my God, of all things. So he gets up there, and about the 4th week, he gets a letter from the woman from the library, and her name was Ginger. So they start writing, and he's so happy. It's so nice to get a letter from somebody besides your parents. It's nice to get from somebody else writing to you. So they start writing a beautiful pen pal type of thing, and he gets into World War II. He's on an aircraft carrier, and he gets into a lot of battles with the aircraft carrier. He's in the Battle of the Coral Sea, the Battle of Midway, the Battle of Leyte Gulf. All these terrific battles, and he sees so many sailors getting killed. He's brokenhearted, but he keeps writing to his family and to this woman. And finally, the war is over, and he's on his way home, Vinny, on this big, beautiful troop ship with all the Army guys and Navy guys on it. And they're all playing cards next to this anti-aircraft gun. They're so happy they don't have to use it anymore because the war is over. So all of a sudden there's a mail call, and somebody says, the guy yells out, Jimmy Valentine, hey, right here. And he gets the letter, and it's from the girl Ginger. So she says, dear Jimmy, I'm going to be at the Grand Central Station on August 10th with my girlfriend. She's meeting her brother. We're going to be by the clock, Jim. Maybe you could meet us there. Maybe we could meet you there, Jimmy. I don't know where you're going to be, but I'm just telling you, letting you know I'm going to be there, Jimmy. So, and I'll be wearing a red rose, Jim, a red rose. Says, hey, so he sees this Navy guy walk by like a captain. He yells out, hey, Captain, when is the ship due in? Oh, let's see now. Today's Monday, probably Friday if there's no storms. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, anyways, there's no storms, and the ship gets in 12 noon in Manhattan. And they see the Statue of Liberty, and they see downtown Manhattan, and they're all so happy to think they made it home, all these sailors and Army guys. So they pull into this big Pier 46 on the Hudson River, and there's about 2,000 people on the dock with balloons and bands playing. So him and his friend Jerry, they're up on the deck watching all this because they have nobody to meet them because they didn't tell anybody they were coming. So they're watching all these guys run down the gangplank, and sons and daughters kissing boyfriends, girlfriends, mothers and fathers. It's a sight to behold, all this loving and caring. So after about 25 minutes, they decide to go down the gangplank, and they head down. They go to the first bar they can find to get an American hamburger, and a cold beer. So they go in there and have a wonderful time. People are treating them to all kinds of beers and food. They can't pay for nothing. They can't pay for a thing. So finally, Jerry has to go. Listen, Jimmy, I'm going to go back to Jersey. I got to go. So they exchange addresses. And Jerry takes off, and Jimmy starts looking for a hotel on 42nd Street because he's got to meet that girl at Grand Central Station. So he finds a hotel, the Holland Hotel, and he goes in there, gets a nice room on the 5th floor. And the first time in about 3 years, he sleeps in a bed with nobody next to him. An aircraft carrier, there's nothing but beds crowded all around you. And so he's so happy. He puts his uniform underneath the mattress to press it. He has this white uniform on, the white dress type Navy uniform. And so he oversleeps the next day. He gets up at 10 o'clock. Oh. He says, oh my God, I gotta meet that girl at Grand Central Station. I gotta get ready. So he gets dressed up, he cleans up, and he heads down to the guy on the desk, and he's ready to pay. I want no money, son. It's all right. It's on me. Don't you worry about that. So He runs out and he grabs a cup of coffee and a roll, and he gets on a crosstown bus going to Grand Central Station. He gets off at the New York Public Library. You know, he remembers going there as a kid. He's so happy. I made it. I'm home. Look, all these beautiful girls walking around, you know, on Fifth Avenue. Lord and Tail, I can't believe this. I'm home. So he starts heading off towards the Grand Central Station. He gets into this big, huge station, and he sees all the people getting off trains, the soldiers all being greeted by their parents and their girlfriends and their friends. It's a sight to behold. So he's like, oh boy, it's 5 to 12. I got to get over there. So he starts walking towards the clock and the ticket place, and he's moving along, and all of a sudden, this beautiful girl dressed in green walks by him, you know, and he goes, wow. And she smiles at him, and he goes, my God, somebody smiled at me. So he said, but I got to look for that woman with the red rose. He spots her. But she's an older woman. She's in her late 60s. And he's going, oh, man, I thought she was going to be a young girl. I don't know. Maybe I better just keep going. I don't know. I don't know. So he said, oh, no, I can't do that. She wrote me all these letters. She kept me going. She was kind like my parents. Oh, I gotta say hello to her. I got to go. So he walks over and he goes, hi, Ginger Jimmy. Hey, Jim, how are you? They big embrace and hugging. And then he says, hey, listen, Jen, you know, I'm very hungry. Would you want to go over to that restaurant there? We get something to eat? So she goes, listen, Jimmy, I got to tell you something. I'm not who you think I am, Jimmy. You see that girl in green who just walked by? Well, she wanted me to wear this rose for 10 minutes. She was testing you out, Jimmy. She wanted to see if you were going to buy me something to eat. And it looks like you passed the test, Jim. You got to be kidding. Nah, she's waiting for you. Oh, thank you so much. He hugs the lady. He's so happy. And he hops and skips and jumps to the restaurant, the happiest guy in the world. And that's the story of the sailor and the rose. So that's it.
Jimmy, a great story, man.
Great story.
You do have the art. You had me from the beginning. I needed to know where this story was going to go.
Yeah.
And I watched you. I listened. That's what storytelling is. It's being able to take someone into the story with you. Now, I've seen you perform a number of times. My question is, where do you go from here as a storyteller? Have you ever considered writing stories of your own? Or is it?
Yeah, I have. I did. I've done a few of them.
Oh.
I wrote a couple of them about growing up in the South Bronx.
And have you performed some of your own original work?
Yeah, I've done it.
Good.
I belong to Spellbinders.
Oh.
Spellbinders is a storytelling group of adults who was formed in Colorado, I think about in the 90s. And they go to all the schools teaching stories to children.
So it's a regular storytelling organization.
Yes, it is.
And they go to the different schools?
They go to the Peekskill schools.
Wow, is that right?
And I also do a lot of, I'm doing a thing now for CDs. We do this fellow of mine, a friend of mine is a filmmaker, and I play a Father McGuire. And it's all about the Father McGuire goes to a broken world and tries to bring a sense of spirituality to them. And I play this priest, and I've done three short 8-minute films now. So we sent it to film festivals too, Benny, and they seem to like what we do.
Now have you done actual acting? Have you been in plays?
Yes, yeah. I was in Hogan's Goat.
Oh.
I was in Streetcar Named Desire.
Wow.
Mr. Roberts.
What part did you play in Streetcar Named Desire?
Mitch.
Oh, Mitch. Wow.
The Carl Malden part.
Yeah.
That's
great. That's a great play.
But that was years ago, you know, so I really have taken up storytelling since then because you know why, Vinny? Storytelling you can put into your own words.
Yep.
When you act in a play, you got to memorize everything so perfect.
Right.
It's not easy to do that
No, it's not easy.
as you get older.
And
as you get older.
As much as I love acting, I steer away from it because I'm not very good at memorizing.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah. I had a difficult time. In Sybil Ludington, The Call to Arms, I have a poem about Sybil Ludington in there that is written by Burton Braley. It is a wonderful poem about Sybil. You know, I couldn't memorize that thing. Wow. Even when I was part of the Storytellers, I read that poem. Now, I can read pretty dramatically.
Yes,
but it is also better. I agree with you when you already know the piece.
Yes.
I'll never forget when my 8th grade graduation, they handed me a speech, someone else's speech, to deliver at the graduation. I had such a difficult time with that. I could get up and make up a speech in about 2 minutes.
Right.
But to deliver someone else's, difficult for me.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful not to fall into reading. Again, you're not reading to the audience, you're presenting to the audience. It's a different thing. So, Jimmy, what do you recommend for those people who want to be storytellers?
Find a story you like. Find stories that you really like. I always look for stories that I really like. I mean, I was never in war, but I always remember Victory at Sea.
Yes.
I was always fascinated by the music. You know, the music was so beautiful and stirred. It showed, they showed them the Marines on Iwo Jima and the music. Oh my God, it was unbelievable. You know, it was just fantastic stuff. So I think you should find stories that you love, whatever it is. Like, I just want to say this: when I was telling that story, Vinny, I don't know if you know, but I almost shed tears 3 times there. It was really this story just gets to you. See, and
that's the thing.
My teacher Ernie Martin would say, "Jim, you should really cry doing that." But I don't really feel like really doing that. But
come on, you could have cried on the show, man. You would have made history.
I know, but that's what my teacher told us to do. To say I'm sad, but anyways, I just want to mention that to you.
This is one of my favorite stories. It's called Knots on a Counting Rope. I absolutely love it. It's a story of a grandfather who is explaining for the umpteenth time to his grandchild the story of his life, how he was born with a curtain over his eye. And this curtain didn't hold this child back. And the story goes on how he explains to him how he was in a horse race and didn't win, but he was up there with all of the other children. And several times the boy says, "Tell me more, grandfather. Please tell me more. Tell me how grandmother held me and said, 'This child will run with horses.'"
Wow.
And it is such a beautiful tale.
Yeah.
I go to schools and I tell this story to 2nd and 3rd graders. I watch the faces on the children. I just want to be there. Because sometimes storytelling is a sharing. It's a gift from the storyteller to the listener. Jim, today you have been a gift to us.
Oh, thank you, Ben.
I cannot thank you enough for coming here on this show and sharing a little bit of yourself with us. Keep doing what you do. You keep tuning into this show so we can tell you some stories of our own. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Writing.